Imagine traveling halfway around the world, leaving behind the most dominant motorsport career in your country's history, and then having to learn how to race all over again. That's exactly what Shane Van Gisbergen signed up for, and last week, something shifted. And hey, real quick, if you are a true NASCAR fan like me, go ahead and drop a like and subscribe to the channel. NASCAR Nation News is just getting started. We are pushing for our next subscriber milestone, and it's all about real talk from fans who live this sport every week. All right, let's get into it. Okay, so here's the thing about Shane Van Gisbergen. When this guy showed up in NASCAR full-time in 2024, the entire paddock knew the talent was there. 3 Supercars championships. A guy who made grown professional drivers look slow on street circuits. But ovals? That was the giant question mark hanging over his entire NASCAR future. And for a while, the ovals were brutal for him. But the Coca-Cola 600 at Charlotte last week, that was different. That was a statement. Stick with me here because the numbers tell the story. Shane Van Gisbergen finished 11th. That's the headline. But underneath that number, he averaged a 7th place running position for the entire race. He led 11 laps at Charlotte Motor Speedway on an oval. This dude who had barely turned a lap on a banked concrete track before moving to America. And here's what makes it even more significant. He left disappointed. In his own words at Nashville on Saturday, SVG said, and I'm paraphrasing here, that the finishing position didn't reflect how they actually ran all day. He admitted they made a mistake at the end, a bad pit stop, maybe the wrong call on strategy. And that frustration, that right there tells you everything about where his head is at. Because when a driver starts getting frustrated about an 11th place finish on an oval, a track that was basically a foreign language to him 18 months ago, that means his internal standard has changed. His baseline has moved. That is not a guy just happy to survive. That is a guy who smells a top 5 and is hungry for it. Now, I'm going to talk about Ross Chastain for a second, because his quote from Saturday was perfect. Ross basically said, look, Shane hasn't done a lot of big concrete, steep bank 1.5 miles in his career. His background was largely in street circuits and road courses. But what Ross said next is the key. He called SVG a racer, said he puts the tire right at the limit, he finds that limit, and his crew chief, Doran, has been giving him the cars he needs. That's a teammate endorsement. And in NASCAR, those mean something. But here's where it gets really interesting, because SVG is not sitting here pretending he's figured everything out. He was incredibly honest heading into Nashville about what still gives him trouble. Concrete tracks, Bristol, Dover, Nashville. He said it straight up, these tracks are his weakness right now because of how dynamic the grip levels are. You never quite know what you're going to get from lap to lap. And for a guy who spent most of his career on surfaces that are predictable, asphalt circuits, street courses, that unpredictability is genuinely hard to manage at 170 miles an hour. So when qualifying got rained out at Nashville, Van Gisbergen essentially got handed a gift, more practice time. And he knows it. He said plainly that qualifying out and getting a longer practice session would be huge for him on a track like this. And he'll start 10th on Sunday, 2 weeks in a row near the front of the field. And that is the whole other thing he's picked up on. Here's the thing about running up front versus running mid-pack in NASCAR. It's not just about the points, it's about the quality of racing around you. A substitute actually talked about this and it really stuck with me. He said the closer to the front you are, the cleaner people race you. Because everyone up there is protecting track position, protecting their cars, protecting their tires, drop back into the mid-pack and the back. It's a dogfight, contact, blocking. Desperation moves for a guy still learning the nuances of oval racing, being able to run clean laps at the front, building rhythm, building feel is invaluable experience. And he's starting to connect those dots. Every single week, he's accumulating reps he never had before. He said it himself. At Charlotte, he was learning things about the flow of a race even during the race itself. That's a guy who was treating every single lap as data, as a lesson. And when you combine that level of coachability with that level of raw talent, people should be paying attention. Because the breakout on ovals is coming. Maybe not Nashville. SVG was honest about that too, but it's coming. The trajectory is undeniable. From struggling just to stay on the lead lap at oval tracks in 2024 to leading 11 laps in the Coca-Cola 600 and running 7th on average That kind of growth, that fast from a guy with his competitive fire, the sport needs to get ready. So here's the question I want you to answer down in the comments. And I want real debate on this. By the end of the 2025 season, do you think Shane Van Gisbergen gets his first Cup Series oval win? Or does he hit a ceiling on these concrete tracks and we don't see that breakthrough until 2026 or beyond? Drop your take below. I read every single one. And if you're new here, hit that subscribe button. NASCAR Nation News is where the real fans come to talk real racing. No fluff, no corporate spin, just passion for the sport every single week. We'll see you next time.